I was doing it today.
Wow. Unbelievable. I left for a week, and you're stealing. That's identity theft, and it's a crime. Oh, and we got his music on. That son of a gun. Welcome to episode 1037 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined by my friend Andrew Spey, my dear friend David Bray. Tyler's here.
Okay, that hurts.
I had to do that after your thievery. I was gone for a week. So happy to be back. Was at a wrestling camp with Caleb back in Virginia. Wonderful times. Wonderful to be back. A lot to get into. But first, Tyler, tell the folks at home how they can listen to this show.
Well, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us on FloWrestling.org. Also on YouTube.
Also Facebook.
And Facebook.
And the app, the Flow Sports app.
And the Flow Sports app.
When do we do this show, Tyler?
We do the show at 10 a.m. on Mondays and Thursdays.
What time
I'm sorry,
zone?
10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Okay. So this is the first time we've done this. It's pretty bad because you didn't know all the places. You didn't know what time. But we're going to continue to do this, and people are going to know how to watch this show. We do not do a good job of this.
Leave us good reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we might read them.
We might read them if they're funny.
That you're going to forget that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're combining forces and getting the beginning of this show out. So good job there. Okay, today we have so much to get into. The IOC's decision about Russia wrestling, how that's going to impact various Americans. Is this final? Do we think this is the reality of it? Is there an asterisk next to an Olympic title at some of these weight classes as a result? We're going to get into all that. We're going to get into Tyler's big weekend that he spent in Pennsylvania with Bo Bassett and Jax Forrest. Talked a little bit about that already on my social media page, to sound old and saying it like that.
My social media.
On my social media online.
On the line.
On the line.
Mm-hmm.
But first, Tyler, you're going to take us through the opening round. What's going on? You kick it off.
Yeah, to start off, the IOC released a list of eligible Russian athletes for the Olympics, correct?
Yes.
And a lot of names were missing, notably Aguyev, Sidikov, Sajalayev, Nafanov, a lot, and their heavyweight as well. The only starter, and Kadi Magomedov of Belarus.
Yeah.
Their only starter was Mamedov at 65 kilos.
And they're heavy.
Oh, they're heavy? Their
Yeah.
starter was also on there?
Kurban.
Okay. Kurbanov?
Abdullah Kurbanov, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that?
Man, it's obviously a game-changing decision. Maybe the most significant news of the year when you think about it. I mean, the fact that 3 Olympic champions, among others, are going to be potentially and very likely kept out of the Olympic Games is really significant and definitely hurts the overall level of talent for the Olympic Games in wrestling. And then it's like, man, should they have done this? Is this the right decision? Like, obviously my interest is only in wrestling, really. Geopolitics, not my area of expertise at all. But I don't understand how the IOC kind of arrives at this decision. How do they determine which wars are cool and which are like not cool? Because, to me, I feel like most wars pretty terrible and awful. And not saying that Russia's anything but wrong in this situation, but I still understand the decision. What makes this one have more weight than others, and the process to determining really guilt or innocence in this situation seems really opaque. And, I don't have a full understanding of what did Sajalayev do? What exactly is the allegiance he has shown to the movement that prohibits him from competing? Same for Sidikov and Aguyev and all these guys. Obviously, I don't know. And they listed the approved guys. They didn't get into the mea culpa for the wrestlers that are excluded from the Olympic Games. So we really don't know the exact why, but I think as a wrestling fan, I don't feel any guilt being disappointed that those guys aren't going to be there, regardless of how horrible the war is and how wrong Russia is for their invasion of the Ukraine. It's like, man, I am disappointed that we won't see potentially Sidikov versus Kadi and Dake, right? Those 3, Sajalayev, Snyder, Tazudinov, Snyder. Want to see Aguyev versus Spencer Lee and all these guys. I want that for wrestling, but I also want that for the Americans because I don't think you have people are going to talk about the guys that aren't at this no matter what. If these guys go on to win a title, yeah, he won, but that's going to be a thing that happens. And that's a shame too, because there's nothing to suggest that these guys can't win those weights with them in there anyways. But I'm curious for Spey's read because he is learned.
Whoa.
He is well read.
Ooh.
These are things that I
Go
will never boast. He has a great haircut.
Thank you.
Currently.
The chat is very very fond of your fit.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
He didn't hold
Little
anything back.
beach gear. I'm ready for vacation. It's the summertime.
Yeah.
Get ready.
The only detractor in the chat is somebody who said that you look like the first guy who gets killed in every scary movie. Which I don't know.
That sounds fine.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
the coolest guy in all those scary movies.
Yeah, I could see him getting stabbed.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll be right back.
Wow. Now I can't unsee that.
Yeah. I'm dead as soon as I leave the studio.
Holy crap. Hey, if
Final
Low Sports
destination.
Killer is going
hey,
to
we
be
got
cool.
we got some filmmakers here at Flow Sports. All they do is horror. So
That's right.
so honestly,
I'm getting slashed.
yeah. Paul, Cliff, hey, this is your guy. If you
Big
need someone
opportunity.
You need someone to die.
Yeah, last Thursday, the Rainy Street Killer, everybody was saying it was JD. So maybe I can't come into FRL today.
Oh, that's true.
And then now we see Spey with this outfit.
maybe
And he's the first one gone.
Now JD's going to be waiting out there with a big old
Yeah.
implement to murder me with.
All right. Speaking of, I tried to we brought a little levity there. Thank you, David. But what's going to happen here? Do you think there's
Yeah.
any reversing this decision?
This seems pretty final. So a caveat for everything is that, and a reason for dissatisfaction among wrestling fans and everybody is that it's not completely spelled out exactly what's going to happen. The IOC did not say, okay, these guys are definitely banned. They're never coming back. These guys are definitely in. Here's the next thing that has to happen. And they kind of left some wiggle room the way they worded everything. They didn't say the following guys are banned. They just said, we have ruled these people eligible. And it got a little confusing because, like, if you'll notice at 57, Uguyev is out, but Mangush is in. So a different Russian got ruled eligible. And that's the whole thing, too, is these are the guys that are ruled eligible. So everybody that we're leaving off, all we know is that they haven't been ruled eligible. Maybe they get ruled eligible later. They said there's going to be another round, but all signs point to, and between my gut and just hearing a couple of rumors here and there, is that this has happened. They're only releasing the list now is because they want to get this information out there. So it's basically final. They can still appeal to the Court of Arbitration of Sport, which is like the Supreme Court of all international sports, the Olympics, WADA, anti-doping stuff all goes through there. But I wouldn't get my hopes up with that either. It looks like the process was Russia, for all the weights that they qualified, since all these guys were in other tournaments except for Sadulayev, but Lifanov and Uguyev, all these guys were in tournaments. So UWW allowed them, and then Russia submitted 2 guys per each weight that they were qualified for, and Belarus. And either the first guy got in, if not, then the second guy got in, and if neither, then that's it. And there is no more.
Anyone.
And they're not sending anyone. And now there's a free spot that gets kicked back to the qualification process, and they have to figure out who the next person is in. And it does get a little confusing there. You'd think, okay, well then the last chance qualifier, the world qualifier, top 3 went in. Whoever lost that 3rd place match, the 4th place person would then go in. But what if the Russian or the Belarusian or whoever didn't get in at the European qualifier? Does the next person at the European qualifier get in? Well, which side is it? Because they didn't wrestle back for true 3rd. And then what if the next person in line got in at the world qualifier? Then, I mean, there's a cascading thing. This is kind of what happened in 2016 when some athletes from several different countries were ruled ineligible because of meldonium, which is a performance-enhancing drug. But then there was some paperwork, clerical confusion, and then who got in afterwards. It is how Frank Molinaro got in, but then they ended up just letting everybody back in. But that's neither here nor there. For this ruling right here, this looks like it is it. I think there's some other sports that they still have to rule guys eligible for. And right now, I think there is like only 9 Russians across all sports, 9 male Russians that are eligible, and 4 of them are in wrestling. They got 3 freestyle and like maybe 1 or 2 Greco-Roman or something, which importantly for Team USA means at 77 kilos for Greco-Roman, it could be Kamal Bey. He lost in the world qualifier. The Kutuzov, the Russian Greco-Roman 77 kilo rep, was not ruled eligible. No one else from Team Russia was ruled eligible, so there's a free spot that needs to be taken, or that's available. And Kamal is the next guy in, and Kutuzov, the Russian guy, did qualify through the world qualifier. So nothing has been announced. Nobody has been notified, and there's still a lot of clarification that people are looking for. But we could see, there's a good chance, I think, that Bey will be ruled in, and I think there's also a very good chance that nothing else changes as far as eligibility and what happens going forward.
Dang.
So Kamal is obviously the next question is which U.S. athlete is most impacted by this decision. Kamal obviously could be.
Yes.
As far as the rest of the field, who, without the Russian or Belarusian in their field, who might be most impacted by this decision?
I would say, without a doubt, Kyle Dake is the most impacted by this. I mean, if you lose Sidakov, I mean, his last two losses were in the field, and now they're out of the field. So now the reigning Olympic champion, Olympic silver, are not in the bracket as of right now. So for Kyle Dake goes from can win to, I'll say this, I think he's one of the biggest locks to win the Olympics of any weight class. Yeah. Not for an American, like anyone.
Yes.
So that's how much it changes the dynamic. Sidakov he's owned America. He's beaten Jordan Burroughs twice. He's beaten Kyle Dake. There's nothing else to say. So without a doubt, Kyle Dake goes from can win to extremely likely winner. Chamizo didn't make it. He's kind of been up. He's never beaten Kyle, but he's given him some tough matches. There's just the list of guys that can go with him, I think, is really small.
Yeah, for 100%. When you take out not just one but two of the medal contenders, and otherwise, and definitely Sidakov, I think, is the favorite. Tough to argue against that. 97, I think, is probably the next one because you take out Sadulayev, who's been, besides Tajudinov, the most dominant wrestler, in the sport. Yeah. So it clears a path. I mean, I haven't even gone through. Well, I'm sure Kozak has been working on that. But what are the new seeds going to be? I don't think any of the
We were
Russians.
just talking in that weight class. Sadulayev, Tajudinov, and Snyder were all going to be on the same side. So one of those guys was going to walk away without a medal.
Yes.
Now this dramatically increases Kyle's chances of making sure he gets a medal at the Olympics.
Yeah, increases the likelihood that he'll have Tajudinov in the semi. I believe it was a semi. So yeah, Sadulayev and Tajudinov were set to wrestle in the quarters. Winner would get Kyle, and now it's, man, if you're Kyle Snyder, it's like, man, just lock in on Taz. But maybe that's putting cart before the horse to a degree. I feel like Aguyev is significant, obviously, with him being an Olympic champion. But on the one hand, Mongush is really tough. And on the other, I feel like at this point, Aguyev was just viewed as one of the guys who could win instead of Sidakov, dominant champion, Sadulayev, the greatest of a generation. Aguyev's like, he's in the mix. He could win the Olympics, but he lost to Micic. Abakarov's there. You've got Higuchi, Spencer Lee. So it was going to be potentially a little uphill for him to win.
I think there's another possibility, too, that we can't discount. I think for a long time, I've been saying there's a chance that Russia just takes their ball and goes home because they started a new event called the Friendship Games, which is basically Russia and ex-Soviet countries are going to be invited, basically the only countries that are still diplomatically friendly with Russia. And that's going to happen in September, like a month after these games happen. Wrestling is one of the sports that's on the program for that event. Will Russia even, are they going to send anyone? They've
hinted at that, right? They've hinted at saying they might boycott the Olympics.
Yeah, the last thing from Mamishvili on Rest Russ, their main federation page was just, we're waiting for clarification, otherwise no comment. And he has said in the past, well, we'll see if we're ready to go and all that other stuff. But when you look at what their presence actually will be, I mean, wrestling was the only sport where they had more than a person or two at any of the sports. They have no track and field presence. That was one of their biggest sports. No swimmers. Gymnastics, I think there's only one female gymnast that was even ruled eligible. And so do you send these people? I mean, they're not going to be on the medal table. They're not going to be part of the opening ceremonies. There's no diplomats or high-ranking people that are going to be there. You really can't be used as propaganda. And that is, I know everybody wants to keep politics out of sports, but that is what Russia uses sports for. That's what they use the Olympics for. And if that is not going to be useful to them, I could see them just saying, we're not going to have our top guys there anyway, so their legacies, we're not going to have Sidakov and Sadulayev. So if they're not going to add to that, then what are we doing sending Mongush and Aslan Bagayev at 86?
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if that happens. And then that opens up even more spots for people to get in, and it'll be a little bit of chaos. But there's definitely a non-zero chance, and I think it went way up after this last ruling.
So Christian kind of talked about it already, but I want to hear from Spey and Bray. Do you guys think that there will be a diminished view of an Olympic gold this year with the absence of Russian and Belarusian athletes?
I think there will be, by the diehards. I think people that are keeping track of legacy and that are thinking about like where does this event stack up. I think that there will be an asterisk, but I think a lot of wrestling fans, they just want to see America win. Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to the podcast that Ryan Warner did about Brandon Slay, and it's like 1984. That was the Olympics where Russia wasn't in, and is like Team USA they just cleaned up. They just killed everybody. And Brandon Slay said he watched that as a little kid and was like, dude, this is awesome. He didn't care. He didn't know the context. And that was the thing that inspired him and kind of brought him into it. So I think Team USA is going to win more medals and better medals and maybe not. Maybe they would have done just as well. But I think that a lot of people are just going to chalk this up as another great performance by Team USA and another really, exciting development for USA Wrestling. But yeah, the diehards, there has to be some sort of an asterisk. And even like the wrestlers themselves, that's one of the things that like the Russians and, some of these guys, Cody, some of these guys have like criticized certain American wrestlers were like, wait, yeah, you won a medal, but it was a non-Olympic medal, or it was a medal without Russians in the field, or that type of thing. So there's going to have to be an asterisk, but I don't think it'll like drastically overshadow how well USA will do here. I think people will be excited about it.
Yeah, I agree. People will bring it up. It will be message board fodder, social media commentary, but there's really no asterisks on any sports wrestling books. And people get injured, people get rule disqualified, there's PED suspensions, and then there are other times where whole countries have not gone for various reasons, whether it's political, whether it's in 2002, no Americans freestyle team went to the World Championships because they were held in Iran, and it was 2002, and there were security concerns. There's no asterisks there. Nobody ever brings it up. It's just no Americans got medals, and it got a little bit easier for the path of some other people there. Japan didn't wrestle in something right after COVID. Russia was out at 2022. North Korea hasn't been to tournaments. They go 4 or 5 years without going to events. There are always people out. You can only beat the guys that are in front of you. So this will be Olympic golds. There'll be other sports. It'll be on NBC. It'll be a huge deal. But of course, I do feel bad for the fact that people will know, people in the wrestling world will say, you didn't beat everybody that were the best that year. But that happens at every tournament, every championship. There's exceptions. It is what it is.
It was a lot simpler when they were just cheating with state-sponsored doping, and you just knew that, and that's for sure still happening, is to the extent that Russia is able to do it without getting caught, they're doing it. But it's a lot easier to justify, hey, these guys aren't there because of what they did, because of cheating. That feels like part of the game. And so if they weren't there for that reason, I feel like it would be looked at completely differently. It's like, yeah, they're not there because they cheated. There's rules to this sport and they weren't following them. This feels this feels outside of that. This feels like obviously completely different reasons. Yeah. Now they're probably still cheating just as much as they were. So in that way, you can almost like justify it for that. But at the same time, it's going to be part of the conversation. I think that the diehard element for sure is probably the way to look at it. But man, I think for the wrestlers themselves, it's like, man, they shouldn't think 2 seconds about it, because that's what you're taught as a kid. Like, hey, the Olympics are on this day at this time. The NCAAs are this day, this time. And whoever's there can get there. That's the field. It doesn't matter if you're hurt, if you're sick, whatever's going on. If, as Shane Sparks would bring up, if your girlfriend breaks up with you. Yeah. That all matters, right? That's something, you don't get to pick the date. The dates are determined, right? And you have to be the best on that day. And I think a lot of Americans now are going to be number one. And I think that's a great thing. It's going to be a dream fulfilled, and that should not be diminished or tarnished in any way that those guys aren't there. I mean, think about all the other I know it's the Olympics, so the expectation is the best of the best, but like, how many NCAA tournaments you don't have the best guy there, or a guy gets hurt or whatever, and no one looks at an NCAA champion with like, well, this dude wasn't there, that dude. But for the Olympics, which the bar to be an Olympian is so insanely high. Look at what Zane Rutherford had to do just to get into the tournament, right? It's just so insane, the process to get there. And then the idea of winning that tournament. You don't even, it's like, it's sort of, I mean, I have a hard time comprehending just how hard it is to do compared to something like the NCAA tournament, which is just unfathomably difficult and just such a lifetime of work and just the levels beyond it takes to get there. So no asterisk in my mind. It's part of the conversation. We're always going to be left to wonder how it would have gone down with Sidikov and Dake and Cotty and Sadulayev and Steiner. You want to see those, the chapters of those books written, but life's messy and it's nothing happens super clean. So definitely a bummer.
My opinion on if there will be an asterisk or not is I don't think it matters that much, because the reason that there's so much importance placed on the Olympics is because this is when wrestling gets like mainstream attention, right? Like the reason everyone thinks that the Olympics are more important is because, one, it happens every 4 years and everyone knows about the Olympics, whereas they might not know about the World Championships or not care about the World Championships. And like the amount of people that know that Gable Steveson won a Olympic gold medal is way more than the amount of people who know who he wrestled in that final. No one knows, like wrestling fans know.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people who are just watching NBC, watching this gold medal montage, following Gable Steveson because they saw him do that cool thing, they don't know that he wrestled Geno Petrosvili in the finals. Like, no one knows who these guys are wrestling.
Yeah.
And so I think in terms of like legacy and just notability, I don't think it will change the game very much for these guys.
Yeah.
The other thing too, if you're thinking about, asterisks and things that change over time, it was not always the case that you would have multiple Americans and multiple Russians in every single bracket, which we do have now. And so, Russia is not, and Belarus are largely not going to be there, but there's still going to be multiple Russians in every single bracket. And I think that's noteworthy. And it does make me wonder, do we see more Russians try to find other homes? Does that happen more often? I don't know. I'd be looking elsewhere if I was them.
I mean, a lot of these guys live there. Like, they're fine, right? Like,
like Karugliev, I don't think trains and lives in Greece. And he's represented Russia. He's from Dagestan, where most of the wrestlers are from the North Caucasus region. I think a good way to think of this, though, is and I agree. And anybody that's disappointed or wants to see the Russians there, I don't think you have to apologize for saying I'm not up on the geopolitics. It is different. I think you make a good point, CP, that PEDs you're breaking the rules, so you don't get to play. That's easy. That's like a corked bat in baseball. Same difference. This is something that's like beyond everyone. And these athletes really don't have a choice. They're kind of pressured into this stuff. So, they're supporting the work because they go to this tournament or this parade or whatever. How much free choice do they have?
Yeah.
How do they have the ability to leave? They have the ability to tell coaches no. Do the coaches have the ability? So I get all that, but the way you got to think about the Olympics is not. We see it from the wrestling-centric perspective, where it's the pinnacle. You can't deny these guys their lifelong dreams. But the Olympics built a big sporting event up. It's worth a lot of money to them, and it's a big festival that gets eyeballs on sports like wrestling that otherwise wouldn't get them. And they are an organization that set a bunch of rules themselves, and Russia has habitually not followed them and has violated all the rules, whether it's doping, whether it's you can't condone a war of conquest in Europe where most of the IOC officials are based. And you can tell them that they should keep the politics out, but that's what the IOC is. That's what the Olympics is. It's their games.
they're political.
They get to set the rules, and Russia's not following them. So it just means we can still see Sidikov, Kadymagov, Dake, and other wrestlers in the same bracket. It just won't be at the Olympics. And it sucks, and I'm right there with everybody that wants to see it. But if you look at the Olympics as not wrestling's event, but a bunch of aristocratic Europeans from Western Europe that are throwing a 4-year festival and they get to decide who gets to show up and who gets to compete, then, okay, weird things happen that don't make sense to us, but make sense to them.
All right. Ready to switch some gears?
Let's switch gears.
Let's switch gears on this 10-speed bicycle. Tyler had a big weekend. He was gone. He's a little sleepy.
I am very.
He's often sleepy.
Yes.
He requires way more sleep than should be necessary.
My mind got real machine gun this weekend.
Okay. Well, hopefully that forges your mind and you're able to get through this segment and this show. But tell us about your weekend with Bo and Jax.
It was pretty cool, man. The biggest takeaway is just how mature these guys are at such a young age. And the funnier thing is, what were you?
I wonder if we should say why we went there. Like,
yeah. Sorry.
What was happening?
So June 15th was Saturday. it was the first day that college coaches can reach out to recruits in the class of 2026, and basically start recruiting them. So we were there. We got together on Friday, and they stayed up till midnight to see who would call them at midnight. And this started. It was David's idea to do this last year. We did it with Anthony Knox, and it was one of the more fun videos that I got to be a part of last year. And so we did it again this year with Jax Forrest and Bo Bassett.
Nice. All right. What first impressions? What was it like being there? What was it like when their phones started lighting up?
So the more interesting thing was last year we did that video with Knox, right? And you hear rumors about, you never know how much the rumors are getting blown up about kids saying that their phones go off at midnight and stuff. And so the expectation was that maybe his phone would like glitch out, and then he didn't get calls right at midnight, and he only got one call that night. It ended up being like a little bit later after midnight. And so going into this experience, a question that I had was, will that video impact the college coaches' approaches this year? Because I've had conversations with some D1 coaches who said that they watched that video and it informed them on the recruiting process and that they actually really enjoyed it. So that was a huge compliment. But also I was like, okay, maybe I wonder if that will have any impact on Bo and Jax's experience. And
You think it did?
I absolutely think it did,
Oh, wow.
personally.
Why?
Because both their phones like glitched out at midnight.
Really?
Yeah, so Bo, first he gets a FaceTime, he answers it, and the first coaches that got through were Rutgers, and he's on FaceTime with them, but I don't know what it was like on their end, because while he's on FaceTime with them, his phone keeps blocking the FaceTime with them with incoming calls.
Oh.
So he can't even see their faces while he's on FaceTime with them.
Because everyone's calling.
Calling him. And so on their end, it might have looked like on FaceTime, how if you're not paying attention to the FaceTime, it'll say you're paused.
Yeah.
So I think on their end, it showed that he was paused like the entire time that he was on FaceTime with them. And so nonstop, we looked at the call log. There were like 8 or 9 calls right at midnight, and then more trickling through between 12 and 12:30. We stayed up till 2 a.m. because he was calling guys back. And I was with Bo. Connor was with Jax.
Okay.
Jax and Connor said a similar thing with Jax, just right off the bat at midnight. You look at the call log. And the thing with Bo too was you don't know if he actually answered all the calls in the order that they came in, because he would get off the phone with one coach, and then another call would be coming in, he would just answer that one.
Yeah.
So if they called 10 minutes later, you didn't exactly know
the order.
And so he kind of had to go back and look at his call log and make note because a lot of the numbers he didn't have the contact information for either. So he was making blind calls back, not knowing who he was calling back. So he kind of had to go back and look at the call log once he got all the coaches' contacts in his phone, and then make notes of the actual order, who actually called at midnight, who was calling later. And so, yeah, I can speak more to Bo's experience than I can to Jax's, because I wasn't there for Jax. But both of them, I know by the time we left and went back to the hotel, had gotten at least 15, contacted by at least 15 coaches.
Okay.
At midnight.
So a big difference with Knox, it was Cornell was calling, great, discussion with them. This doesn't, if for people wanted to know, all right, so after we watch this, we'll have a good idea of where these guys are committing. It's almost like this is the same as what we knew before.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, actually, friends have texted me, where are Bo and Jax going?
You were there.
Dude, I have no idea. These kids really genuinely seem really open. And again, I can speak more to Bo's experience than I can to Jax's. I don't know how Jax feels as much as I do Bo, but Bo is super adamant that he's open. He wants to be recruited. He wants to go through the process. And especially for him, his dad was not there. So that was an interesting thing. Bo, super tight with his dad.
Yeah.
That's his role model. I asked him in our pre-interview. By the way, we did an interview with both of those guys, like a podcast style interview, June 14th, about 8 hours before coaches could call them. And that's on
an 8-hour podcast.
An 8-hour podcast. No, we did an hour-long podcast.
Chill out, Rogan.
8 hours before the coaches could call them.
8 1-hour podcasts.
Carlin or wrestling.
And that's out on YouTube and Facebook right now, and our website, FloWrestling.org. If you want to check that out, it's an interesting listen. I asked them if they believe in ghosts. So if you want to know if Bo Bassett and Jax Forrest believe in ghosts,
Finally, the hard-hitting questions.
go listen to that. But What was I talking about?
Holy Ghost.
No, what was I saying before that? Oh, I was talking about Bo.
Yeah.
Is open to
How open is he? And his dad wasn't there.
Yeah, so his dad was in it's South America somewhere with at Pan Am's, U15
Keegan?
Pan Am's with Keegan.
El Salvador, baby.
El Salvador.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
He retired. Keegan did.
He retired from Greco.
Yeah.
just from Greco. Yeah.
Yeah, he took his shoes off after he won his Greco Pan Am title.
Probably a fine decision.
I thought that was awesome. And so, his kind of excuse with the coaches on, because, it's kind of overwhelming if you're a kid talking to all these guys. They want to know if you have any questions or how you feel about their schools. And Bo kind of had the easy excuse of just, my dad's out of town right now. He's going to come back in town. We'll get together. We'll reach out to you guys. So a lot of coaches are asking him if he's interested, like where his head's at. And he's just like, yeah, I'm super open. I want to be recruited. I want to go through the process. And yeah, one thing that I wanted to talk about that we didn't see last year that I think maybe some coaches thought would be a good idea this year, just to kind of show that they're fully on this guy, is he was getting FaceTime calls from entire coaching staffs.
Everybody's staying up.
So everyone's face is there, So if you have all 4 coaches on a FaceTime call in front of you, that there's not an assistant calling another guy. Like, they're not splitting up the work. You have the entire coaching staff's attention dedicated to you right now. And I thought that was a really interesting and cool way for these guys to show that they're all in on these recruits. I thought that was cool. I haven't heard of any people doing that prior to this year.
Very cool. All right. Talk about, the big guns are obviously all interested. What was some of the different approaches? You mentioned the FaceTimes, but what was the typical approach you saw from the programs?
So you got a lot called at midnight. I think the 2 schools that stood out that were like the bigger schools that stood out that did things a little different were Oklahoma State and Penn State, which is interesting because, Penn State always has kind of done things differently, and David Taylor kind of comes from that tree, right?
Right. But
both of those schools didn't reach out until Saturday. So it's still day 1, but it just feels like a different day because it's not that night before,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Cody Sanderson texted them, hello from the Grand Canyon. Him and Kale are in the Grand Canyon right now on vacation. So they sent those guys their location. They were like, go PSU. And then they got a call from Casey later. And then David Taylor was one of the later calls. And I thought that was interesting. He said he wanted to be one of the more impactful ones. But they were kind of sweating it out. At least Bo was. He was like, man, when are Penn State and Oklahoma State going to call? And so there's the interesting thing there too, is does waiting now, if everyone's calling at midnight, does waiting make you more interesting? Does making you think about that school a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Reminds me of the old the radio contest where it'd be like 10th caller wins free tickets. And everybody's like jamming in. They got to figure out. So the next recruit to do this has to do one of those things. Like, all right, 10th caller gets my commitment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Just a verbal, though. Just a verbal.
Yeah.
I think Penn State's always going to zig when others are zagging, it seems. But, like, for them, the main thing is you want the last word, right? Yeah. These guys aren't about to sign. So how important that those midnight calls. On the one hand, Anthony Knox went to Cornell. That was the first call he got. And was he going to go there anyways? Maybe. I don't know. It's following that process throughout as you did, it seemed like he was wide open, and then Cornell kind of got the edge, and then kept it from that point.
I will say with Knox, I asked everyone. I never put it anywhere. I thought I might, but I never ended up doing it. I asked everyone around him where they thought he was going to go, and there was one school that was a common theme, and it was not Cornell.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're not going to tell us?
I'm not going to tell you what school it was, but it was one school. There was one school that most people said, and it was not Cornell.
So the call was important, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Did it rhyme with Jutkers?
No, I'm not saying anything.
Come on.
No, I'm not telling you.
But that wouldn't give it away. I just want to know if it rhymed with, Jutkers.
All the many schools.
Penn State or Kiowa or, I'm
not saying nothing.
Fine. I won't ask anymore.
Tyler, can you at least let
or just tell David.
just tell me. I won't tell him. Can you at least let Keith Gothard know if Little Rock was in the picture whatsoever?
Little Rock was a caller at midnight.
Okay.
He left a voicemail. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if he got through that night. I think he called him back and maybe at like 1 a.m. and Arisman might have been asleep already because Bo was calling all these coaches back.
Yeah.
And some of them would keep him longer than others. So we were up to like 2 a.m. giving calls back.
Cool.
All right. Did Michigan reach out?
Michigan did reach out. Michigan was actually Jax's first phone call.
Really?
Yeah. Kevin Jackson was Jack's first phone call. Sean, I think, was number 3 or 4 for Bo. He was in the sauna. He had to get out of the sauna because his phone started glitching.
Really?
Sean has like this Michigan sauna in his basement. It's really cool. He was like FaceTiming Bo from the sauna.
What a beast.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Are you going to use, did you use your influence over these impressionable high schoolers and
Yeah, what a
lead them
coincidence.
and make it so that their decisions their own and not you
I'm-
using the media to impact their decision? That would be highly unethical, and I'm really concerned that you might have done that.
I go out of my way to not do that. I go out of my way to try to just be as neutral as possible. If they ask me about my experience at Michigan, I tell them the truth. I tell them the truth, but
You find a loophole and then you
but I am not
make
going.
your own rule.
I'm not going out of my way to push Michigan on anybody because I feel like if you do that, it can actually have the opposite effect.
Interesting.
You know?
Well,
So
Tyler,
it sounds like you're not really Team Michigan anymore. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
now
how
that you
loyal?
say
That is
like
a crazy accusation.
How loyal are you?
That's a good point. I mean, if you're not, I'm not going out of my way, but you're not going your way, period.
Yeah.
You're not.
If I'm asked how much I love Michigan, I tell them how much I loved it.
Yeah.
They ask me about Sean, I tell them he's the man.
How much Michigan gear were you wearing?
So it's funny. I actually
That's a good question.
The only-
subliminal, subtle.
the only sweatshirt I packed was accidentally a Michigan sweatshirt.
Accidentally. You're really gonna say
No one
accident-
believes that.
But listen. I intentionally went cold sometimes because I didn't want to be wearing like a school sweatshirt during this process, you know. So
Because you
I did not
no longer
wear it.
have pride.
I did not shut up. I did not wear it
choices
once around them.
it's very brave of you to go no sweatshirt during June. That is brave.
It rained one of the nights, and so I went a little cold.
The lengths that you go to maintain your journalistic integrity.
There are quite a few predictions in the chat about where these guys are going to end up, and DJ says that they are going to go to Michigan, but not till their 6th year.
Funny.
Dang it, DJ.
Ah.
DJ got you kind of.
That's
pretty
stupid.
good there. So what's up? So the podcast is out.
Mm-hmm.
You got a 5 a.m. workout with Bo. What was that like?
That was cool being there, seeing him take the picture and post it. And
Yeah.
how that goes, and it was funny. So for a lot of the other guys that are normally there, they have to wake up even earlier to drive to Bo's house, and he was talking about how they wake up, they come downstairs, they turn the light on, and it's just like a bunch of faces just like in the window waiting for it to be let in. That's kind of funny.
Weird.
But they have a really sweet setup in their basement with the mat. They have a bunch of strength equipment and stuff. They do this thing where they take wheelbarrows, like with a bunch of weighted sandbags in them, and they walk them around the block. And it's funny. Bo's like, he almost is like a politician, and he's just like waving to the garbage man while he's doing the wheelbarrow around, saying hi to the neighbors, like, hey, while he's like killing himself trying to keep his grip on this wheelbarrow. They both set personal records.
Really?
On camera, yeah. They said the record for dropping, they always drop the wheelbarrow around the block. They said the record for least amount of drops was 2. And then Melvin did it with no drops. And then Bo was like, man, now I have to do it with no drops. And Bo did it with no drops.
For the first time ever.
First time on camera.
Wow.
Oh, and it was that camera was inspiring them.
Yeah.
To
Oh, yeah.
A little, now they're at 110%.
And that's the thing that separates these kids too. If I was on camera, I would probably drop it more. I'd be stressed. I don't know. That's a lot of pressure. Bo, a college that gets Bo Bassett, you get a guy who performs under the lights, performs under the cameras.
Okay.
So Sam Herring's in the chat. He was there. He was part of the
wow.
experience.
That's right.
He's got a little insight. He says, Tyler, you were too scared to lace up at practice.
I was gonna ask about that.
Oh,
Wow, that's so crazy. I didn't have any shoes. I told them if they brought me shoes.
He brought his Michigan sweatshirt, but no shoes.
It was funny. There was a wrestler. There. Maybe Sam can say his name. He had just dyed his hair blonde. He was like, "You want to go takedowns?" I was like, "Yeah, but the loser has to shave the blonde out of their head." He was like, "Forget it."
He was too.
Do they know you were good, or do they just think you're stocky?
That
You're a strong guy. Hey, it looks kind of strong.
I don't think. I mean, good. I think some of these guys don't no. I still see. So here's what I believe in my heart. I think a lot of these elite high school kids, I could still get the first takedown on them because I spent a lot of time in a D1 room. But
You got a lot of first takedowns.
I think you're a top recruit. You don't have a lot of respect for a one-time NCAA qualifier. You might not think that he could do that to you, but I think I could take these kids down once.
You would get the first takedown on Miles sometimes, right?
I would sometimes get the first takedown on Miles. He would hate me saying.
Do you think they scouted you from your stalemates match where you came out of retirement?
They're like, this guy loves the supercars, but he can't do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they know not a guy to be scared of. We don't have to give him extra shoes.
I think if it's a top recruit that weighs more than me, I don't like my chances. But if it's a top recruit that weighs less than me, I like my chances.
All right, what are Bo and Jax like? Are they just like they are? I mean, I feel like we know Bo really well just from watching him.
I mean, I think obviously there are differences in just their personality. Like Bo puts himself out there probably a lot more than Jax does. Jax is a little more behind the scenes, low key. I mean, you can tell just by their wrestling styles. Like Bo, Bo always preaches machine gun mindset. Jax might be sitting crisscross applesauce in between breaks in the action. And you love them both for different reasons. Bo has all of his trophies out everywhere. They have like a huge like room where they put everything on display. They got their goals everywhere. And Connor was just showing us footage. Like Jax has a lot of his trophies like in a drawer that are just like stacked up on each other. They both, but I asked them both if I was a college, this is probably one of my favorite questions, but they didn't really, I think they were a little shocked by the question.
Your question just overwhelmed them.
Yeah.
So good.
I thought it was a good question. I was like, if I was a college coach, should I recruit the two of you differently or should I recruit you the same way? And they both kind of said, I think you should recruit us the same way. Like at our core, we have the same morals. We have the same goals. We both are looking for long-term homes. They both care about, they want to win Olympic medals, not just NCAA titles. And they both just care about the culture of teams. They both, at their core, they're best friends, man. So I think if you get either of those guys, you're getting a really great addition to your team.
Man, can you imagine if you got them both? Did they express any desire? If they're both close and like one of them says, I want to go here, and that's maybe one of the Jax's second choice or vice versa, do you think that would be enough to tip the scales and they would both go, or are they not really thinking about themselves?
So before this trip, I got the inclination that it would be completely independent of each other. They wouldn't really let each other influence. Yeah, quit bumping my stand.
Well, why is it like this? These have to move.
Guys bumping stands over there.
But
you know what? That's not good.
But I did hear them say while I was there, I think it was while they were FaceTiming each other or something, they were talking about how cool it would be to go on visits with each other. So I think they really want to do that. It made me feel like maybe there is more of a chance that they do think it would be cool to be at the same school with each other. And what was I going to say? Oh, and one thing they talked about too was they talked about I asked them if they would see themselves being coaches one day. And they both talked about how they've had discussions about maybe in the future doing what David Taylor did at Oklahoma State. Like, they're like, man, we could get the gang back together. We could all be on the same college staff. They've fantasized about stuff like that too. So I thought that was interesting.
That's very interesting. Okay, cool. Well, very, very good stuff. Look forward to seeing all the content that comes out from that. Should we switch gears? I think we should.
Let's switch gears.
Tyler, why don't you switch gears for us?
All right. Since last show, or maybe we just haven't talked about it yet, but Christian Carroll committed to Iowa State.
Yeah.
How does he fit in at 197?
Well, I think the question is 197 a good fit for him? Like, can he make it reliably, consistently over the course of a season? I feel like the fit's okay. I feel like it's tough for this year, potentially. If he's not a 197, it'll be tough because he fits there and he's not going to beat Younger Bastida to start at heavyweight, right? But I like that there's flexibility for Christian. If after this year, he could go up to heavyweight potentially, or they could keep him down at 197. I think it's a great get for Iowa State. I think we saw a lot of development with Christian, especially in the spring and freestyle. And, you can always take a little bit of, there's a little bit of caveat when it's freestyle, but I think it's highly relevant because he's going up against the best in America. So I think it's a great pickup for Iowa State. I'm not sure what went into the decision for Christian, why he ultimately decided he didn't want to be at Oklahoma State. And this is a guy who's been, he committed to 3 different schools before committed to 3 different schools. And now he's transferring. So he's moved a lot. So is he a guy is he going to be there 4 years? I think that's a fair question to ask. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know. And maybe that's not even something you have to think about as a college wrestler anymore. Am I going to be here 4 years? Like, you don't even have to say that. It's like, yeah, maybe not. It's very much, it's more fluid now than it's ever been before. But I think for Iowa State, great pickup. You wonder. No, I'm not going to say that part. That's it. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on Christian Carroll?
Yeah. So I think one of the interesting things is Iowa State had already picked up Evan Bachman out of the transfer portal, 3-time NCAA qualifier from Utah Valley. And initially it's like, man, well, where does that guy fit? You just got this guy out of the portal and now he doesn't have a spot. But his first couple years, he was listed on WrestleStat as a 174 pounder, and WrestleStat actually just changed his weight for 2025 to 184. So if he can go back down, if he can descend and get down, that makes a huge difference for the lineup, because even if you had a 3-time NCAA qualifier at 197, 84 was still a little bit of a question mark. You have good guys there, Tate Noctiborin, whatever, but now you've got a little bit more of a sure thing if Bachman can make that, and if Carroll's in 197, it's like this lineup is just getting kind of fortified in multiple weight classes.
Yeah. That's a big thing for Coach Dresser. He really loves a deep room. He likes the battles. He wants competition. He would probably love it just as much if Bachman and Carroll were coveting that same 197 spot. And similarly with Noctiborin, he's a big recruit, but if you can bring in Bachman to push him, it's a good thing. And even going back to Coach Dresser's Virginia Tech days, like they had a lot of deep rooms and some tough wrestle-offs. I remember Sal Mastriani, this is a throwback, but Sal Mastriani beat Devin Carter at the Hokie Open. It was this huge thing, and it caused, Devin to switch weights, and it was something that Coach Dresser had, and so he's continuing that at Iowa State, and good pickup. But it's good that Bachman has that flexibility as well. So it makes a lot of sense.
And I think it makes sense for Carroll to have that flexibility as well. It's valuable to have a guy that can go 2 different weight classes. He's wrestled heavyweight through high school. He wrestled 220. He has a feel for both weights. We'll see if 197 is a good fit for him. He's at a great program where they can, figure out what's best for him and put him in the best chance to succeed. So I concur that it's a great pickup for Iowa State, and looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Wow. Love the language. What time is it, Bray? How much time we got left?
It's 10:51, so we got 39 minutes left.
We need to get a clock on this on the TV.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, let's jump into Monday Blues. It's Monday.
Oh, wow.
JD's not here. We will not let his segment die.
No, we're keeping it alive.
Monday Blues, it's Monday.
He's barely alive, I think.
Sometimes
he's sick. That's why he's not here, guys.
Yeah, his blue is that he is
That's
sick.
a collective blue that we all share with JD. If he were here, he would say, I'm sick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
sick of high gas prices.
Sick of high gas prices. Hey, I wouldn't be too sick. Go to Virginia. They're even worse.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Paid like $350, $360.
You don't know nothing about California gas.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyways, is that my Monday Blue today? California gas prices?
I hope not. No.
You still don't have a fuel-efficient K-truck.
It's Monday. Sometimes you got something you're a little down about. Spey, what's your Monday Blue?
Ooh, starting us off. All right, well, Sunday used to be the best day for television, particularly HBO. Many fond memories of watching all that, Sopranos, The Wire, Deadwood, et cetera, et cetera. And then Game of Thrones was kind of like one of those successor shows, Prestige TV. And then I tried watching this House of Dragon show, and I definitely remember I watched every episode last season. I watched the second season premiere. I have no idea what's going on, no idea what anybody's name is. Dragons are flying around saying, we got to do this, we got to do that. There's no humor.
The dragons are
talking?
Dragons are breathing fire, and they're talking about we need lambs for them or something. I'm all out on that show. I'm all out on just TV on Sunday in general.
Monday Blue is that he's too old to remember things.
That's right. My memory is failing me. I need
know.
I watch everything with subtitles so I can understand, but they're all named the same thing. Rhaenyra, Daenerys, Haenerys. Makes no sense.
Aragon.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
You say Rhaenyra? You're confusing it with the Rhaenyra Ortega, the Cuban wrestler.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now I got
on that show.
Yeah. And then even when this is what made me so mad. I pulled up Wikipedia because I like to spoil things. I don't really care. And that was the thing about Game of Thrones is you can read the end of like how.
Don't spoil any shows for the listeners.
I can't because I looked at Wikipedia and even that was too much for me. So I just gave up. And now it's like Sunday just doesn't have any good shows anymore.
Okay. That was a great.
That's a tough one. I've heard
great rant.
I can empathize with Spey.
How good did we have it? We didn't even know when The Wire was on.
But yeah, to the point of listen, I'm simple. I'm very transparent about that. I can't keep up with some of these shows. I mean, I'm not taking notes. I thought I could just, watch.
Yeah. I need like a homework assignment to keep up. And then don't get me started on anime with 1,000 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
I just hear a couple old guys complaining about how old they are.
Complaining about how better things used to be and how you don't appreciate what you never got to enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your Monday Blue, Christian?
My Monday Blue, I was actually thinking about this. I got a couple. One of my blues is I feel bad because I was with my coworkers this weekend and I took all their money in poker, including Spey.
That's your blue?
I'm sad about that. I feel
You did not look sad about it Saturday night. You were gleeful, I might suggest.
And then that drive home, I just felt awful.
You're like, I wish I was back there taking more money from them. I can't believe I only get to do this once every now and then.
Months.
Yeah.
No, that's not my blue. I just wanted to say that since you're on the show.
Yeah.
'Cause Spey got out early, which that was good for me because Spey's a good poker player.
Mm-hmm. I've seen.
Oh yeah, I was the first one out.
First one out, and Ollie's who's pretty good.
Spey's great at dice.
What?
On dice, he took everyone's money.
Oh, that's true. Too.
When-
We got all kinds of.
When were we playing dice?
That was a couple. That was
WWE
Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah. I won that, but that was just drawing names out of a hat. No skill.
But there was also dice.
There was
Maybe
dice.
don't remember that. Maybe you're I don't know. Anyway, all right. To my real blue. This is something that I've never shared this. So this is an exclusive.
Here we go.
But it bums me out that I'm this way. This is a why am I like this moment for me.
I cannot wait for that.
Okay, so I have this thing that happens. I think the two are connected, so I'm going to share them both. Okay, I do this thing, and everyone's going to know what I'm talking about. You're walking somewhere, a hallway, whatever, and I always do the jam up thing where like, which way do I go? You know what I'm saying? And I know I'm creating this. I don't know what I do, and I don't know how to fix it necessarily, but I can't do it. I can't not cause the jam up. And then sometimes I'll just run, just to quickly clear,
Like sprint by.
clear the situation.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what it is about me that makes it so I can't do something as simple. Listen, I may be simple, but I can do a lot of things. And the fact that
Did this happen with someone specifically that embarrassed you that you can't stop thinking about?
no, it's never
Are you
been
disappointed you
anything
can't like juke them out? Because like
No,
I would
that's-
just one swim move and I'm
ankles.
gone. Yeah.
That would be no problem. But I feel like to reveal athleticism just in a basic hallway passing should not. But
But
this
you don't have any. So
this
that's
happens. I'm a freak. But then I think this is connected too, where I mess up the handshake fist bump thing, and I get this, I do this, and I know it's me. It's never that person. It's because it happens to me so much. I'm man enough to look in the mirror and be like, you cannot do handshakes. You cannot do fist bumps. You cannot do.
I think you're being a little hard on yourself.
And
That
I've
is that everybody is.
I've been slapping five since forever, but I can't. Other than that, and even then, I'm missing, inaccurate. So I just don't know what it is about me.
Yeah, I just commit to it. If I go up for a dap and someone gives me a fist bump,
And you
I just go.
cover it.
That's what happens. But
And you just make it funny.
yeah, that's what I've started to do.
and then when you're in the hallway with someone, you just go, "Oh, shall we dance?" And then that's the move to get by that.
I can't.
That is great. I've
But I
never
hate-
heard that.
But I
You've
just
never.
I just hate myself every time it happens. So
It is the roughest is when it like you're doing it with someone that you barely know, or it's like a job. Wow. All right. I'm the handshake dab thing.
Yeah.
hate doing it with someone. I've never done that.
My Monday Blue is
Moving on.
I'm just I've a very huge sleep shortage right now because I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to make my flight out to Pennsylvania. Then I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to get Machine Gun Mindseted for the 5 a.m. workout with Bo Bassett. And then I had to wake up. Then I had to stay up till 2 a.m. that night because he was calling so many coaches back. Then this kid is a maniac, does not need sleep. He's a machine. He wanted to wake up at 7 to check his phone again to see if he had more calls. So that means I had to wake up at 6 to be there for him at 7. So I got 4 hours of sleep that night. And then our return flight was at 6 a.m. out of Pittsburgh. So I am running very short on sleep right now.
Did you? I mean, I think. Listen, I'm sorry to Bo, but in the era of AI and machines and robots, did you see if he was a robot? Did you test?
I never got my hands on him. No. My number one rule, usually don't put your hands on high school kids.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Good rule.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, I got something for you.
Oh, you do?
I didn't get it for you. But someone sent something. Someone felt sorry for you and me because we lamented losing keys and stuff all the time. So someone, Jake, a listener, he sent us air tags and keychains.
This is for me?
For you.
Yes, dude, I've been wanting one of these for a long time.
You got one.
Oh.
That's fantastic. Wow, thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll clap as well.
Yeah, look, they're expensive. Yeah, hold it. Show the folks at home.
Man,
Look
I
at that.
wish I lost my keys and had a sympathetic listener.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, that's
A lot of times
fantastic.
I lose my money.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, David Bray, Monday Blue.
I had a totally different one coming into this, but listening to Spey, I got to say, it's making me pretty sad that Spey is no longer watching anime shows that Tyler endorses. That was such a great era.
Attack of the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyler loves this anime called Remember the Titans. He was always talking about how great it was, and he was like, Spey, if you watch this, you're going to become, an anime
He's
fan.
like, oh, other people I suggest this to, they don't watch anime either, and now they can't wait to see what the
true.
next episode is.
And so
The problem with Spey is he doesn't watch shows. He'll watch a show that is in Japanese and be on Wikipedia the whole time and just not even read what's happening in the show.
That's right. I don't know how many Titans there are. Why are they nude? Why do they have no genitalia?
You don't know because you're not watching the show.
Why are they eating a bunch of medieval villagers? This is what the show is. So, of course, I go on Wikipedia to find out what the heck is going on. It's nonsense. And then you're like, no, wasn't that so sad when the giant nude monster ate the villager mom? I'm like, no, that was the funniest part of the whole show. It was just chomping away at this weird medieval villager. Ridiculous.
So you see why I'm blue? Because we used to get this in the office like every day, and now we haven't had a
would
good
film
one.
little bits on my phone and be like, "You're telling me this is the greatest show?" And it was like
Out of
a guy on a
context, it's so
horse,
ridiculous.
A guy on a horse, and then he just like a head slowly comes down. It's like, "Brum," and like the animation's so crappy that like it just doesn't look
is not
real
crappy.
at all. It's terrible.
not crappy.
They're flying around their little jetpacks.
Is anyone in the chat defending Attack on Titan?
Not a person. Not a single person.
This is the ultimate Attack on Titan.
It is the Attack of the Titans, and they're called. It's first of all, it's called what is it, Attack of Titan?
Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan. Preposition makes no sense because the Titans are the ones doing the attacking.
That's
They're not getting attacked.
We're moving on. We're moving on to
You
wrestling.
poked a lot of holes there, and he cannot patch that ship up.
Great show though, really good. Recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Here's a question.
Love it.
Here's a question I really like because we were talking about recruits earlier. Is there anyone not in college you would take the over for with 1.5 NCAA titles?
Yeah. I mean, a couple. I think D. Lockett. I think Bo Bassett. I like D because he's gonna be an upperweight kind of guy. Not going to be in some of these middleweights and lightweights. It's like, with Luke and Jax and some of these guys, there's going to be Knox. It's a little tougher to say because they could be all battling for the same stuff. And I view all of them sort of similarly. Feels like
Marcus Blaze?
Yeah, and Blaze is in that mix too. So I feel if you told me any one of those guys won 2 NCAA titles, I would not be remotely surprised. But a lot of them are going to come at the expense of other grades.
Yeah.
And so that gives me a little more pause with that lightweight group. Whereas now they could all, grow and not grow, and then they could separate. But even still, they're not going to be 57-pounders, a lot of them. I think Bo's got a great shot to win.
Angelo Ferrari?
Possible.
Okay.
Possible.
Okay.
I could see it. I mean, Angelo's ready to go year one. He's going to get to redshirt. I think here's the thing, though, man. But Angelo's won it. Who's number 1 2 years, but he is not, Super 32 run a lot of gauntlets yet. He hasn't tried to make a world team yet, to my knowledge. So whereas we've seen some of these guys all against the best frequently, Angelo's a little more like pick their spots on their competition. But there's nothing wrong with that approach. We've seen that work for sure. There's the opposite approach, which is just like enter everything all the time.
I like Angelo for the over in a similar way that you like Ladarian, because he's going to be an upper.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot bigger.
If he gets up to 197, for sure.
Yeah.
You know who's not in college wrestling who already has a huge head start? AJ Ferrari.
Yeah, that's true.
He's already got one out of the 1.5.
That's a really good point.
That's a good point. So both Ferraris.
Mhm.
That is a good question. But yeah, there's maybe some names I'm leaving out, but
Yeah, because I'm forgetting. On top of mind right now is the class of 2026.
Also-
but there's also 2 classes ahead, of them that we're not thinking about.
Drayshawn Ross.
I'm
if he goes to
giving him
college?
the over for 2 football NCAA titles more than I am for wrestling.
I'm not.
You think he'll wrestle?
I think he's got. I think there's a good chance he wrestles.
He's already getting D1 football offers, isn't he?
Has been since he was a freshman, yeah.
Oh,
We'll see.
we'll see.
That's the best part. We'll find out. You're
Yeah.
feeling yourself now. I know he's gotten offers for football. I think he.
I'm not trying to.
Oh,
dunk
you're
on
getting
you or
getting
anything.
cocky. You're so-
Tyler likes nothing more than really good wrestling prospects going into football. It's like, oh, another one went football, not wrestling, in your face.
Whatever, dude.
okay.
Okay.
Good question, Tyler.
Since Flow made its top 100 wrestlers, who has made significant jumps? We've been dropping those top 100 videos. I think we made that in 2020. I think right off the top of my head, Zane Rutherford won a world title since then.
Yeah, he should shoot up and made an Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
David Taylor was not an Olympic champion when he made that.
Really?
If we made it in 2020, he wasn't.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Kyle Dakes won several world, and including Olympic. Gable Steveson should shoot up by winning the Olympics.
Yeah.
Those all stand out.
We got to see.
Oh, Amita Lore.
I was going to say it. We got to
yeah.
see how.
Yeah, she wasn't
She'd
even
for
on
sure
there,
be.
probably.
I mean, how high would she be if she wins the Olympics? My gosh,
Yeah.
just right then, she could walk away and be she's one of the greatest, U.S. wrestlers ever.
No pressure, Amit, but just never lose again. And you're.
That's been her. Honestly, you say that, but that's been her strategy. So far.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. I don't think I'm sure I'm missing someone, but those are.
Snyder probably gets a few more notches. He medals every single time.
Yeah, Snyder's not even worth talking about because he's not going to retire till 2054.
That's what the cool thing about living in the current golden age or platinum age, whatever you want to call it, of American wrestling is we keep
Diamond.
winning. The diamond age.
What's better, gold, platinum, or diamond?
Well,
Well, if we're turning in
let's
terms
do
of
Delta status, which would be the.
Oh, yeah. That would be
Pretty sure it's diamond.
diamond. Yeah.
Diamond medallion.
Diamond medallion.
How much time we got left, Bray?
Pork medallions.
We got ourselves 24 minutes.
24 minutes.
right.
In the spirit of Father's Day was yesterday.
Oh,
Who would you say are some of the best father-son duos in wrestling?
well, Nate and David Carr
Mm-hmm.
definitely stands out.
Vito Arujau and
World Championship family.
world champion family.
Yeah. So it's probably Vogar and
There's a lot.
Vito.
Okay, moving into that family stuff.
Family stuff.
CDP first wrestling camp.
Yes, it was awesome. He was really nervous. He's actually at another camp right now, not wrestling. He's at his first church camp. He's en route right now to Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
Not far from Wynnewood, Oklahoma.
Oh, baby.
We know what goes on there.
Hey, we got some
Kings of the Tigers.
some bootleg zoos.
Oh, is that where Tiger King is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's at Tiger Camp.
Okay.
Tyler, I pointed that out to you when we were driving to Stillwater.
Yeah, I
remember?
forget about the town name.
You always forget Tiger King town names.
Yeah, it's my thing.
Drives me crazy. But anyway, it was awesome. Coach Waters put on a great camp. Kerry McCoy was an instructor. Joey Dance, Kenny Courts, Rob Prebish. It was awesome. And it was cool to see Caleb kind of in that really challenging. It was long days. It was like 8:30 to 8:30 and like 3 really long sessions, then a bunch of live. So it was great. But the best part of the experience was just the technician and just seeing these high level guys, just like they're obviously really good at wrestlers, but you can tell the great coaches and communicators, but like the efficiency of their words and how they're teaching technique and stuff. I was like, the most impressed with. And I thought Joey Dance and Kerry McCoy were just so excellent there, just like very simply explaining things and the process for taking super nuanced and technical stuff and boiling it down to a way I was like, holy cow. And I'm watching these kids, and it was very much like the level of kids that I helped out. I'm not on their level anywhere near, but I can help. And it was very similar to the level I'm used to coaching at Buffalo Gap. It was like that. So, definitely lower, small school Virginia style. And these guys were getting it. Like, and everyone's a great teacher there, but the way they were able to pick things up so quickly, I was like, oh my, I can't believe they're learning this. Like these guys were like struggling with penetration steps, and they were learning, basic, tilts and things like that. So that was really fun for me to see. And, cause I've often thought like, what do you really get when you send your kids to these camps and things like that? Like you get it. If your kid is mature and wants to pay attention and learn this stuff, like getting them around elite wrestling minds, there's value there. And these guys, the clinicians are, I highly recommend it. So it was a great experience for him for sure.
Where did it take place?
At Fishburne Military Academy, which I'm waiting to joke with Caleb that we're going to send him.
Where's that located in Virginia?
Oh, Waynesboro, Virginia, right in the Shenandoah Valley. Beautiful. So just like 30 minutes east of where I grew up. I also stopped by UVA, saw Coach Garland, Ian Parker, Coach Paulson, all there. It was funny. I walked in. So Garland's showing me around their new kind of facility. And then he's like, let's go talk to Coach Parker. And he's like, oh! And he's like literally watching FRL. He's like, I was wondering where you were. And like, why you were on the show? And you're right here. He was literally watching FRL. So it was cool. Great catching up with those guys. And speaking of joking with Caleb about sending him to military school, because I don't think he'll believe it, but there's a chance. But he's the most gullible kid of all time. I have to share with you the things that he fell for this last week. Okay. So the first one, I convinced him he was committing voter fraud because he believed this.
Classic making your kid think they committed voter fraud.
Yes. So he is obsessed with getting all-star voting for all these Astros. So he's borrowing everyone's phone so he can make the allowed 5 votes per day you can make on like his grandma's and grandfather's phone and my phone and anyone. Literally, he'll ask anyone, "Can I borrow your phone so I can make these votes?" So I was like, well, technically that's illegal. That would be voter fraud.
Yeah,
because you're acting like you're. He's like, really? I was like, they're probably not going to find out, but technically that is fraud. So he was worried about that. And then we had this big party for my brother's wedding, and there was like a scavenger hunt where you had to like find someone that went to college with Weston, and it was like a competition. So of course he was psychopathic about it. That something is supposed to be like a mixer, and so he got second in it because it was a contest. And he's like, yeah, I got a $10 Starbucks gift card. I was like, oh man, that's great. I was like, man, it's too bad you didn't win that. I said, the winner got $500. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, are you serious? And he immediately goes up to that kid that won. He's like, what'd you get for winning? He's like, $10 Starbucks gift card. He's like, someone told me you got $500. So he fell for that. And what was the last thing he fell for? I forgot. Maybe I'll remember later and come back to it. But it was so funny.
On the note that you were talking about camp and clinicians, I went to Jody Strittmatter's club, Young Guns, for a session. Bo did a session there on Saturday morning, and Jody was showing knee pulls. And when you're at stuff like that, you can only film so much that you need for a video. So I got kind of what I needed, and at a certain point, I was just watching Jody coach these kids because I coach Caleb sometimes, and I think that being able to do something and being able to communicate it to a young child are two very different things. So I was just watching it, really impressed with how Jody was able to communicate to kids so that they understand it and they get it. I think it's definitely a unique skill that if you can get your kids around guys that can do that well.
And I think some of the best struggle with it, where they don't even recognize the details of everything they're doing. So that's like definitely
like knee pull. That's my favorite move, and I was like, I know it inside and out. And I'm watching him and learning like how to teach a kid how to do it.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah, that's what our high school coaches always said is, you don't really know a move until you're able to teach it to someone else. So they really.
Well, I guess I don't know that move.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
As well as you could. Yeah.
I don't think I can teach. I can teach it, but Yeah, I was learning.
It is funny, like having our kids in sports. Like you do see that the best coaches are the ones that can make something really complex seem really simple.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, all these these people that coach little kids, they think it's just like yelling at them and try hard and effort and all that type of stuff.
It's a big part of it.
That is major. But yeah, like Ellis, his little T-ball team this year, like they killed everybody just because they didn't have like, decision anxiety. They just knew exactly what to do like every time. And so it made it super simple. Whereas you watch these other teams and like the kid gets the ball and they're like 3 different people are yelling 3 different things and they're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And if you can make it simple, it's like, that's so much of it. It's crazy.
It also didn't hurt that your team had Ellis on it, and he's an absolute
Monster.
possible PED monster.
Yeah.
He did like to hit dingers.
He did. Absolute beast.
And a question about the camp that was at. How was it? How's like it marketed? Because like, was it just local guys? Because that's not a hotspot, Shenandoah Valley, even though it's probably America's most beautiful valley.
That's true.
I'm gonna guess influencer marketing.
Well, because I mean, this is going back a ways, but it's like there was the famous ones, the Iowa and the J-Rob one, and then everything else was usually like just got local kids. So was it mostly just Virginians and kids in the area?
He's been doing this camp for like 30 some years, so he's got the coaches. I mean, there was people from North Carolina. There was a bunch of Pennsylvania kids there. There were some really, I forget their names. They're from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Like really tough. They're like really good for this camp.
Because the clinicians, a guy like McCoy is very well known, especially in Pennsylvania. So it does draw from that.
I think it's only 100 kids, so it doesn't take very long for him to sell. I don't know how he markets it.
Hey, by the way, there's a question in the chat that we should probably get to. So, and since the show has started, Gerald Miller committed to Iowa. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a St. Ed's guy. Pretty good, 190 pounder. He's top 20 guy, but he also has a twin brother who has yet to commit. So very interesting. And people want to know the impact of that. Man, if they get both of them, it could be two more upper weights that could be really good. 184 pounder, 197 pounder type guys. So really interesting. Just curious why Tyrell hasn't committed. Gerald's in. Tyrell.
Has there ever been twins that went to different schools that were elite?
Yes, the Stemet brothers, Citadel and Stanford, and they wrestled each other at CKLV.
No way.
Yeah. One of the brothers came up to us when we were sitting on press row, was like, hey, I'm about to wrestle my brother. I don't know if this ever happened before. Twins. Anyway, see ya.
Have there ever been
They're
twins?
funny.
Yeah.
Love the
Really
Stimets.
funny.
Have there ever been twins that wrestled at Iowa that you're aware of?
Not that I can think of.
None coming to mind.
None come to mind.
None that were like really good.
Yeah.
Just like Olympic champions.
Maybe some coaches.
Maybe some coaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we don't have really any. Oh, here's a question. One last question. Have we ever ranked NCAA winners by year? For example, winners from 2016 versus the winners from 2023.
Take it, Bray.
We do it all the time.
Sure, I'll answer that. Yes.
Well,
All right, cool. Any other questions?
Any other?
All right. No more questions.
Yeah, there was a lot of COVID. A lot of the COVID era was just,
ranking. Yeah, that was basically FRL from March of 2020 to, I don't know, a lot of that year. And
3 times a week.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, we were doing it 3 times a week for an hour and a half.
Yeah, a lot of people were arguing about masks and vaccines. We were just arguing about
Jordan Burroughs versus Kyle Dake.
That's right.
we caused quite a stir with that one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to talk about. We could probably go though.
Yeah, we can hit it.
Cruise on out. I want to say. Wait, what do I want to say? I'll talk about
You want to talk about
what's upcoming. I don't know though.
We got junior duels.
Yeah, that's
So-
what's coming.
Yeah.
That's what's in.
Yeah, that's what's in.
You want to remind everyone to subscribe to our channel?
Yeah, I will remind because Tyler's reminder I feel like fell short.
Okay. Ow.
That's just leadership.
Okay.
Anytime you're mean to someone, just tell them I'm just trying to be a leader right
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tough love.
I've been following a lot of influencers. This Andy Elliott guy, transformative. He just screams at everyone.
Okay.
It helps.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know. He's something. For whatever reason, he is in my algorithm. I guess I could just block him, but I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could avoid him though.
My algorithm is just Dr. Doom.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing but a random Texan dude just mixing beverages together and chugging them real fast.
Oh man,
Absolutely.
Caleb made me a hilarious Father's Day card, and he basically just wrote inside jokes on it, and he had a Dr. Do, Inside joke.
Oh, speaking of influencers, one of the guys that works at Flow met Superhuman.
No kidding.
Yeah, Tom. He works in production. He was at U20s and U23s, and he has a friend that like works at music festivals or other shows, whatever. And it was the gathering of the Juggalos, and there was Superhuman, and he said he's kind of let the fame go to his head. This little guy that does WWE moves on like in his backyard,
Like toasters.
on the toasters and like barbed wire, like really insane stuff.
Okay.
And he said he was a little like he almost like picked a fight with a guy that was like talking trash to him, and then Tom just kind of standing there, and Superhuman kind of like was like, yeah, well, you don't want to mess with me and my guys, and Tom's like, whoa, like I'm not part of that.
Yeah. So if you don't know who Superhuman is, one, he's a superhuman. Two, we learned about him from Spey, who is a Juggalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And-
no, I'm really into the ICP.
Yeah, huge ICP guy. And actually, I'll retweet later his top 10 rappers of all time. That's
right.
That's you'll know his true dedication.
100% accurate and correct
Yes.
rankings
Yeah.
of top 10 rappers.
Yeah.
So you can have a different opinion. It's just not.
So, anyways, this guy is a Juggalo, and basically what he does is he sets up things to jump on and hurt himself. So he'll like do a front flip on a toaster.
Microwave.
Yeah, the microwave was
elbow
the
drop
craziest
on
one. 'cause
Microwave is the most nuts one.
he sets it up where the stuff gives and is like, oh, he'll set up like, oh, this is on top of micro machines. And you know that hurts when you like step on little toys or whatever.
Yeah.
But the microwave was
We've all
so
seen Home
insane
Alone.
because he flies onto the like elbow drop onto the microwave, and the microwave doesn't budge, doesn't dent, nothing. He just like bounces off it and then starts like screaming and writhing in agony.
Yeah.
But that's what he does more of them. It's not like you're supposed to feel bad, and it's like,
thing.
oh, why did he put it up there like the news lady that was smashing grapes and
Yeah.
fell or whatever? No, this is like he wants you to watch him smash himself onto microwaves.
So that's how he got famous.
Now what would happen if I put like 50 halogen bulbs?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Like little cactus plants, like. And it's
Yeah.
always in the style of some WWE guy. That I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like, this is in the style of this guy.
because it's WWE style, it relates to wrestling, and that's why we're talking about it on this podcast.
Well, you should know about the main influencers.
Yeah, Dr. Deuce.
Dr. Do and Superhuman are two of the best in the game right now.
And then your guy, Elliot, was it?
Andy,
else?
I think his name's Andy Elliott. He actually I think is an influencer, unlike the other two.
Unlike Dr. Do and Superhuman.
They have a different influence. By the way, he would fit the more conventional definition
Fair enough.
of influencer.
We were talking about what's coming up this weekend. There are a couple events on our site that could have been on Slam or Scam.
Oh, hit me.
we got the Air Force Special Warfare
Jeez. Hey now.
Nationals.
Special Warfare.
I think that actually is a USA Wrestling event. And then Melee Till Midnight is a great one.
Wow.
That's a
And then
great-
wait for the coaches to call, right, when you're done with your melee.
Yeah, they should do that on June 14th.
Yeah.
And then at midnight, they can all get called after they won Melee for midnight.
That's good that they're putting it right in there because a lot of times, like tournaments, the biggest gripe will be like, it's 11 p.m. and we're still wrestling. It's like, bro.
in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Melee
This
doesn't
is
stop
designed.
until then. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is designed. I know we started 4 hours late, but that's only so we can Melee till midnight.
Yeah, brackets were a little small. Registration was down, so we're not starting until like 6 p.m.
Semis are over at like 2 p.m. and they're like, finals are 11 o'clock. Sorry.
See you then. Okay. Well, make sure you like and subscribe this show. It helps us a lot. We want to read your positive feedback. Not really negative, honestly.
If it's negative about Christian, I will.
No.
I will.
You can read, but you won't read it aloud. You'll have to read it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Roast Tyler.
Only
and
positive.
Get on. You get a read.
I don't even want that.
Okay.
A roast, a nice friendly roast
Send him a roast.
that makes fun
An
of his
actual roast.
hobbies and his anime
I
and
want
his
a
hair.
meal. I want a roast.
Oh, you like an actual roast animal?
You want to throw a London broil at him?
Yeah.
All right. That's from The Sopranos, which you won't watch because you're watching cartoon giants eat nude villagers.
I'm saving
Reverse.
Sopranos for marriage. You know this.
That's not what you're supposed to save for marriage.
I'm saving Sopranos for marriage.
All right, that's not how that works. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to be back Thursday. I don't know if JD's going to be here, guys.
I don't
He
know if he
sounded
wants to be
down.
here anymore.
I don't know if he wants to be here anymore. And I'll ask him, and he'll be like, nope. And I'll be like, okay.
Okay.
So we'll have to accept that if he doesn't come back on Thursday. But we hope he feels better. It's not a good thing being sick, especially in beautiful Austin, Texas. We got a lot coming at you. He's got some editing to do. Mm-hmm. Maybe on the Thursday show, we have him just edit on the show.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, all right, how's that coming along? And we say in an hour and a half, you have to have this scene built out.
Okay. That'd be great.
be like a challenge.
Yeah.
That's big on
the
YouTube.
clock.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks so much, guys. We'll see you Thursday. Goodbye.
Goodbye.